Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. What I'd like to do today is relay to you a message from a headmaster of one of Sydney's prestigious boys' schools entitled A School for Boys, and the author of this message is Mr Timothy Bowden, who's the headmaster of Trinity Grammar. And he says that Trinity Grammar is unambiguous and confident about the fact that they are a school for boys. And this indeed is very clear in their mission statement, which is, and I quote, "to provide boys with a thoroughly Christian education in mind, body and spirit." He goes on to say that humans are a sexually dimorphic species, which is just another way of saying that on average there are differences between men and women. These differences ought not to be overstated. The commonality between men and women is deeper and more profound than the differences, but we need to appreciate and respect that the differences are indeed very real. The differences are easily recognisable on basic physical grounds. For example, on average, men are taller and heavier than women. It is not the case that every man is taller than every woman, but it is valid to recognise and appreciate the difference. Of course, physiological differences in size and proportion alone are not an adequate basis to argue for separate schools for boys and girls. However, these differences between male and female humans are not just physiological. Without attempting to untangle what may be a matter of nurture rather than nature, and without expressing any value judgment, and without suggesting that a generalisation applies to any specific boy or girl, we can make a few observations about some differences between school-age boys and school-age girls. On average, rates of maturation in terms of physical, neurological and social aspects differ between boys and girls, and generally speaking, boys tend to mature later than what girls do. The gaps can be significant, particularly in early adolescence. This ought not to be a matter for judgment, as though less mature boys are simply broken girls who would be fine if they would be just like their sisters. On average, boys are more active than girls. They tend to move more, tend to be louder, and they are more boisterous. Boys' schools at lunchtime tend to be more rowdy than girls' schools are. Again, he makes no judgment about the differences, nor does he propose to unpack its causation. On average, he says that boys do not do as well at school as girls do. Boys leave school earlier. Boys receive lower mean and median ATRs. Boys are more likely to be suspended. Boys are less likely to proceed to tertiary study. Boys are more likely to be disengaged with school. These facts, according to the author, are not contested, although causation of these facts is by no means agreed. On average, girls and boys express distress in different ways. And the author says, according to Dr. Lisa D'Amour, distressed girls tend to internalise, to collapse in on themselves and suffer from anxiety and depression, whilst, on the other hand, distressed boys tend to externalise, to act out or get into trouble. The author of that quote, D'Amour, notes that this difference is the result of socialisation and the different norms that are imposed on boys and girls. She goes on to observe that it is easier to feel compassion for those who suffer from anxiety or depression than to summon any sympathy for irritable, sullen, or obnoxious young people who are compulsively drawn to gaming, online gambling, or toxic dimensions of the manosphere. This observation does not justify poor behaviour, but it suggests that sensitivity to the differences between boys and girls in distress and under pressure is indeed of great value. His reasoning for using this post to reflect on these things is to make the point that the differences on average between boys and girls provides a valid basis for single-sex education. He does not claim that single-sex is the only way for good education to take place. He does not claim that it is the best way for education to take place. There are lots of different ways to be a good school. His simple point is that there are valid reasons for specialising in the education of boys, and that is what a school like Trinity does, and does with a passion. At the start of the year, he spoke to his staff about these matters and made the point to them that unless they have a heart for boys, a heart for the boys who fidget, a heart for the boys who bump, a heart for the boys who call out and run, the boys who comply, the boys who transgress, the boys who fall short, and the boys who soar, the boys who perform for their peers or for their family or for their role models, the boys in all their fragility and in all their strength, in their glory and in their fallenness. Unless the teachers have a heart for them, then they themselves are in the wrong school. The headmaster proudly says and productively says that at a school like Trinity, they educate boys. They became a school for boys by historical chance and remain a school for boys by contemporary choice. And they are honoured that families continue to choose to partner with schools like Trinity for the education of their boys and the sons of Trinity and society's future leaders. What a wonderful, wonderful message. Take care, and it's refreshing to know that there are still educators out there who resonate with what the majority of us feel. Bye for now.